everyone. Welcome back to Salt and Burn This, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Sammy.
I'm Valerie.
I don't think that I said that sentence correctly at all, but I don't care.
That's okay. By now they know what we're doing.
Right.
Hunting people, saving things, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I totally thought I was going to be able to sleep in this morning just a little bit because I had Zooms set up. And I was like, I'm going to sleep in a little bit, then do the Zooms. Nothing wakes you up faster and to a more alert state of being than when you hear your dog getting ready to barf on your bed.
Yep.
4 o'clock. 4 o'clock in the morning. That's yep. And I'm like, I'm awake.
Did she barf on your bed?
She did not, because I rolled over and literally threw her off the bed. That part of like, oh, poor puppy, no, get off. Like launched this honking dog off the bed. Thankfully, my lightning quick reflexes got her off the bed in time.
So I totally got sucked into the Olympics this year.
Really?
Yeah, which I don't know. I haven't really been paying much attention to the Olympics lately. I used to like be a huge figure skating fan. Like I was always like on top of all the figure skating news and stuff. I mean, this is when I was very, very young, you know, like in Michelle Kwan days,
right,
which was like 90s, early 2000s. Hopped back in, I just started watching it this year, and I was like, oh wow, I forgot how much I really loved watching this.
Oh gosh, that's cool. And did you have a favorite skater?
I did. She's on the Japanese team. Her name is Kaori Sakamoto. She ended up winning bronze.
Oh, good for her.
Which was, okay, there was a lot of drama in the figure skating world this year because like this Russian thing and this drug thing, that's a whole nother podcast episode on its own. Exactly. But still, because she was allowed to compete, I think the stipulation was if she does place, there would not be a medal ceremony until after they finish the investigation. Again, not going to get into that. But this 15-year-old kid, the favorite, messed up a ton, ended up not placing at all, and got fourth. But the thing was, it was just so expected that, like, oh, it's going to be like a Russian sweep, for gold, silver, bronze. Which is kind of sad when you think about, like, all of the other skaters, like, entering into this competition, because all the Russian ladies can do quads. Like crazy. One girl did 5 quads in her routine.
Yeah.
What the hell?
She must have thighs like this big.
No, that's the thing. It's the opposite. They're all like
all super tiny,
thin.
Oh, wow.
And they say that's kind of the physics of what you need are like these really narrow hips and slender figures. It's kind of why
to spin.
Which that's another whole little thing because now it's like, oh, this coach is. A lot of her ex-students have been treated for anorexia and
is this the same coach who was really mean to the 15-year-old when she fell?
Etteri Tuberitse or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't have it right in front of me, so I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. But yes, she's the one coach for the Russian women and a couple of the pairs teams.
I read that she was less than humane when it came to dealing with feelings and expectations for the skaters.
Like when the girl, when she came off the ice, she was just like, "Why did you give up? You stopped fighting after that first axel. Tell me why did you do this?" Instead of, "Oh, it's okay." She's like clearly breaking, like having a mental breakdown.
Right.
She's like, "Why didn't you skate well enough?" Anyway, but so it was exciting to see somebody who was not expecting to place at all get a bronze medal.
That's awesome.
And, like, there was a bunch of Russian drama once, like, the placings were announced. They're all, like, crying and infighting with each other. And here's this, like, Japanese girl.
Who's like,
who's just crying tears of joy. Just like, oh, my God.
I'm at the Olympics. I placed. Yes. Yeah, because weren't the other Russian skaters like, I'm never going to skate again?
One of them was, yes, because, I mean, the favorite was Camilla, who was the 15-year-old in the center of this whole thing. Alexandra Trusova, which was the one who did 5 quads, she was expecting to, she was like, I should have won the gold. Everybody else has a gold medal, except for me. And I'm sure she was told, just do your 5 quads, you'll be fine. But the thing, none of her other routine it was just the jumping. Like, she had a few little flourishes here and there, but there was no artistic expression whatsoever, in my opinion. Sure. And in the commentator's opinion and the judge's opinion.
So not just your opinion.
No, but I'm saying
I'm not
an expert in these things.
It's kind of how I feel about gymnastics these days.
Yeah.
Like, where's the dance?
Exactly. It's like now it's so focused on like the crazy jumps that you can do. I miss the artistic expression about it, and that's why I liked Kaori Sakamoto so much, is because she was just like beautiful and unique, and it's just like, that's what this was about.
I wanted to see the men's skating because of the guy who I think he took gold. He did his routine in like an orange, a reddish
Nathan
orange.
Chen,
yeah. I wanted to see his routine just based on just his final face, like his face was just so excited and vibrant. So I wanted to see that routine. Plus, it looked like he was wearing like a Star Trek shirt.
I think someone made a comment about that too.
Someone was like, "Yay for the red shirt guy." But I kind of wanted to see that because it just looks so, like you said, vibrant and exciting.
To watch. I really loved his routine, and but that routine he did like a Elton John medley.
Oh, nice!
So the end of it was Benny and the Jets, and he was just like a lot of like little dance moves.
That's the way to do it. Yes. And of course, by the time you get to that point in the routine, if you haven't already nailed everything, you can't dance to Benny and the Jets and be like, That's pretty fun. Well, let's talk about a really uplifting episode of Supernatural.
Let's do it. Season 2, episode 21, All Hell Breaks Loose, part 1. Late one night, Sam walks into a cafe and wakes up in a ghost town abducted with other special children by the yellow-eyed demon. Meanwhile, Dean searches through a 3,000-mile haystack for his brother. Written by Sarah Gamble, directed by Robert Singer. This was also accompanied by a commentary with Eric Kripke, Robert Singer, and Sarah Gamble. So,
oh my gosh,
a pretty entertaining commentary.
Trifecta there. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear about it. I did a quick map quest.
Yeah.
It's funny that said a 3,000-mile quest. Granted, Sam could have been taken anywhere, so I get that. But it's like they were in South Dakota, and then they were in South Dakota. So they really didn't go that far in their travels.
I guess so. Did it say where they were when they approached the cafe? I didn't look for or notice a Chiron, so
no, there wasn't one. But I'm assuming that if as quickly as Dean hooked up with Bobby, that so not only did it hook up with Bobby, but then they made a trip to the Roadhouse, that they must have been in somewhere near South Dakota,
right?
If not in South Dakota,
right? Because the Roadhouse.
Initially.
They never really did say where the Roadhouse was, but I'm assuming it was Nebraska because of our little Nebraska adventure.
Right. Look!
Oh, you're wearing it!
Not just showing you my boobs. Showing you the shirt. Nebraska. Honestly,
it's not for everyone.
I'm wearing the shirt. But yeah, so that's my guess, is that they really didn't go too far out of...
True.
Let's say 300-mile radius.
True.
Let's just put that out there. So the recap. So the recap is all about the truth about Sami and the yellow-eyed demon, and it's almost like the pilot episode. They just crammed it into the recap.
Yeah, kind of like a little bit of the pilot episode. There's that line where Bobby is like, a big storm's coming, and you're right in the middle of it. There's cameos from all of the special gifted kids or the psychic kids, whatever you want to call them. So
right from past episodes.
Yes.
I find it interesting that they keep calling them kids or children.
I know. It's like they're 23 years old.
They're not children. They were children when the yellow-eyed demon affected them.
Yes.
But they're not children now.
Not no more.
But yeah, so it's the truth about Sami, the psychics, and then the final line is like, this is Dean saying this whole thing is spinning out of control. Boom. That's the end of the recap. So it's like, okay, this is obviously an episode about the yellow-eyed demon.
Yeah, we're wrapping some things up. Also considering it's part 1 of a finale. So
right.
Big things are happening.
Yeah.
So now, boys are driving up to a tiny little roadside cafe.
It's the smallest cafe I've ever seen. It's like not even a trailer. It's like so tiny.
No, they did, the commentary peeps did say that it was built, like they built this from scratch. Yeah. It wasn't like inside a studio or a soundstage or anything like that. It was, they built it in this open area.
This field?
Yes.
In this pond?
Yes, in this pond, because it's once again raining. And it was supposed to be a sunny day, they said.
Oh, God. What's funny is there's a moment where Dean is walking out of the cafe, and you can hear basically the dock that he's walking on go into the water. Very funny. I mean, it wasn't meant to be funny, but it was just a little haha.
Yeah.
It is pouring rain there.
So Sam is going to run inside and get some grub. Key moment here. Oh my God. It crept up on me like right away. At 1 minute, 55 seconds. Pie.
Get me some pie. See if they have some pie.
Love me some pie. They're like hammering it in here. By the way, Dean loves pie. And
not just pie, but pie. Pie. It's also funny that he asked for extra onions, not with the pie, but with his order. He's like, give me the extra onions, which is exactly what he ordered in the Folsom Prison Blues when he was brought in for questioning. He's like, I'd like to order a burger, extra onions.
Yeah.
But then what's funny about Dean saying, like, don't forget my extra onions, and Sami says,
no.
You know what? No, because I have to ride with your extra onions. The irony is that Jared is the guy who farts on set nonstop. So the fact that he's afraid of being stuck in the stink of onions in a car, when in one of the very first seasons, very first episodes, there's an outtake of him like basically pooping his pants, farting in the car. Ugh. Yeah, it's a big fart.
Gross.
But
I wonder if that was a writer, like, little inside joke there. I wonder. I don't know for sure. She didn't say it, but
must have been. I'm just gonna kind of gleefully like, yes, it was.
Yeah.
All right, enough about Jared's flatulence.
Yes.
For now.
He goes inside. Jensen's messing with the radio because there's some static that goes on, and he's distracted long enough to look up and find that no one is in the diner anymore, or there's not in the windows. There's no movement. There's nothing.
Yep. Staticky, lights flickery. Gets out of the car, pulls out his gun, and goes in and basically walks into a bloodbath.
Yeah.
There's nobody left sitting at the diner. There's no patrons. There's just anybody who's sitting at a booth is dead and bloody.
Yeah.
He looks behind the counter, all the wait staff, all the cooks, throats slashed, a bloody mess, and not a sign or sound of anybody left in this teeny tiny little cafe.
All right. And also no sign of Sam. Like, Sam isn't dead.
He's not one of the bodies.
Right, not one of them. So looks out the back, and in his search, accidentally touches some sulfur powder, that fake sulfur powder left on the window,
and has been yelling out the back like for Sam. Sam goes back out front and is looking around and yells, Sam, and there's this echo, this like empty echo of him calling Sam's name.
Right, he's just not there.
And the image of Dean yelling for Sam fades into an image of Sam like on the ground, and it looks like, is he dead? Is he alive? Because his eyes are closed. And as the camera pulls back, Sam wakes up. So he was on the ground, knocked out somewhere.
Yeah. He gets up and he looks around. He has no cell service. Surprise, surprise.
Well, I love the first thing people do is pat their butts where it's like, where's my phone? You know, check for a signal.
Yep.
No signal.
And then he's looking around, and I kind of love this shot that this camera just like goes all the way back. And it just is a shot over this very barren, empty, literal like ghost town. Like you can feel how alone Sam is in this abandoned town.
Wet, cold. I mean, it's so obvious that they did a wash of the film to make it like gray, almost brown.
Yeah.
But even without that, the buildings just look dank and old and decrepit. But it definitely is like a deserted town. It's not just like one or two houses.
Yeah.
And Sam's the only one there.
Yep. Splash.
Yep.
Okay. A note on this town, because I thought this was pretty cool. This was, I think it's called colloquially Border Town. And it was a town built in Vancouver for like an old Western movie or show. I'm not sure. And then it was just never like kept up. Like they didn't tear it down or anything. They just kind of left it. It originally, he and the psychics were supposed to be in an abandoned orphanage or somewhere kind of really industrial. Oh, and then like the city of Vancouver kind of called them up and said, hey, we have this like
town
frontier land, you know, just hanging out. Right. You know, here's some pictures if you want to use it. I mean, no one's really kept it up, and they're like, oh yeah, this is exactly what we need.
Wow.
So then they like, you know, rewrote it, switched it around. Yeah.
That's really cool. I think, honestly, I think I've seen it before. I think they used it in Psych as well for an episode, but it was sunny and bright, and they used it as a fake tourist cowboy town, which is kind of a funny episode, but the opposite of what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Sam is doing Sam things. He's looking around, checking his surroundings, and he's looking in the windows of some of the houses and stuff, and he runs into Andy.
Yeah. Which
I love Andy. I'm so glad that I saw Andy.
I know.
I was like, yay, it's Andy. And Andy is a little freaked out. And I loved it. He's like, you know, how did you get here? How did I get here? What's going on? And like, we find out that the only thing that Andy remembers is like his fourth bong hit or something.
Yeah.
His fourth
Jesus
bong
Christ.
load. Not hit, bong load. He's like, that's the last thing I remember. Fourth bong load. So poor Andy, a little freaked out, but you know, Sam's able to, you know, calm him down. I also love that Andy's like, where's your brother? And
he mentions Dean at some point, and Andy's like, oh, Dean, like, is he here?
Is he here? Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool. He's like, no. And in the meantime, they hear someone screaming. Mm-hmm. They hear a woman screaming, and they follow the screams to a locked building. And Sam's able to like bust open the lock with a rock, and out bursts
Ava.
It's Ava, and she is just a hysterical mess.
Yeah. She thinks that she's only been there for half an hour. And she's like, I just woke up like 20 minutes ago. And he's like, you've been missing for 5 months. 5 months. We looked everywhere for you. There was no sign of you.
Nothing. Yeah. And she's like, what? No. And then then they find, you know, as they're trying to calm Ava down, out walks 2 more people from the town. Mm-hmm. And it's Jake, a soldier.
You know, he went to sleep in Afghanistan and then woke up here.
Yeah. And then there's
Lily, this poor little goth girl.
I just wrote down angry woman. She's really angry and doesn't seem to want to share or like find out about anybody. Like, she's just like, why are we here? This sucks. I want to leave.
Yeah, particularly when you know, Sam goes on his spiel like he's done a couple times with the psychics that he's met, be like, oh, it's you know, started I guess not 6 months ago anymore, but however long it's been. You have headaches, find out you could have abilities, and then Andy pitches in and be like, yeah, like I can tell people like what I want them to do, but I've been like training my mind, and now I can put like images in people's heads, like gay porn all day to this one jerk I hate.
So he's digging it.
He is, and poor Lily, and I don't blame her for this, is like, oh, great, that's great for you. I kill people. Yeah, when I touch them.
Yep, I stop their hearts. So isn't that great? Good for you. You can pick people's wallets. You can, but I kill people. Yeah. But they didn't get to Jake. They didn't get to we didn't hear what Jake's superpower is.
No.
But so next thing we see is Bobby. Not here, but Dean has tracked down Bobby.
Oh, yes. Oh, but just to touch on something, the kids are wondering why they're there, who put them there, and Sam is now letting them in on the truth. She's like,
yes, the truth is out there.
It's actually a demon. Pause.
Yes, exactly. It's like pause. Cut to.
Yeah.
Dean and Bobby.
Yeah.
Poor Sam, always the giver of news, the bringer of news. So Bobby now is trying to help Dean track down Sam. They're looking at a map of demon activity, and it's all over. Yeah. And Dean's like, what am I supposed to do with this? How? Right. We have to narrow in. And there's so much demon activity, which I thought was a little frightening. They're like, how can we figure this out? Enter Ash. Phone call from Ash. Mm-hmm. Ash is calling Dean saying, hey, I got that information you were looking for, but I'm not going to give it to you over the phone. You have to come to the Roadhouse. And Dean's like, I don't have time for this. And Ash is like, make time.
Yeah. It'll help you find your brother, and it will, what did he say? For your brother and for the end of the world. It's end of the world big, right?
Right. And I love that he's at the Roadhouse, and he's there's hunters and people at the bar, and he's trying to be like, oh, hey, how's it going? It's all right. Cool. Yep. Dude. He's trying to act all casual after dropping that particular bomb of end of the world. And so Click hangs up the phone, checks his watch. And
that was supposed to be a calculator watch, by the way.
Was it supposed to be a Casio calculator watch?
It's not a calculator watch, but I think originally they wanted him to have a calculator watch.
No. And clearly it was not a calculator watch, because I was like, ooh, sweet watch. Yeah. But that's very funny. Mm-hmm. And so Dean and Bobby jump in the Impala and head off to the Roadhouse. Dean's like, guess we're going to the Roadhouse.
Yep. Right. So back in the ghost town, Sam has laid out everything that he knows. Not received well by this group.
Nope. No one believes him. They're like, this is crap.
Yeah.
Jake takes off. He's like, dude, I'm out. And he takes off on his own.
Yep. I'm a soldier. I can take care of myself. Boom. Yep. And Ava is just like, okay, visions are one thing, but demons, really?
Really? Yeah, this is not me.
Yeah. Argument commences as Jake like leaves, and as he's leaving, he sees a girl, a young girl, in the window of one of these storefronts.
Yep.
She kind of disappears, so he goes inside to check in on her.
Turns out it's a classroom, like an old classroom.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool shot here, where it's like a circle 360. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where he's standing in there saying like, hello, where are you? It's okay. Things of that nature. I want to
help you. Yeah.
But he's hearing like warbled laughter.
Yep.
And that very distinct sound of chalkboard.
Chalk.
Yeah.
Yes. Chalk on a chalkboard. Squeak, squeak, squeak,
yes.
squeak.
So the shot starts off, you see the blank chalkboard around him, and then by the time it 360s all the way around, the chalkboard is now filled up with I will not kill.
Yeah,
100 times.
Just like Bart Simpson at the beginning of every Simpson episode, the entire chalkboard is filled with the punishing line you have. Just I will not talk in class. 1,000 times.
Yes,
I will not kill.
Yes, this would be a Treehouse of Terror version.
Yep. Even the eyes, even the handwriting. It's like it's a child's handwriting. The eyes are dotted with circles. Instead of like a dot. It's clearly a child's handwriting.
Right.
And
right.
but there's no one there.
Yeah.
No
I thought it was pretty cool how they did this. They said that they like flipped the board around. It was like a swizzle board.
One of those flippy ones, yes.
Yeah.
Ones that always pinches your fingers in the frames because you don't move your hand out. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I love easy tricks. Yeah. I love theater magic. You know, all you do is flip it.
Yep. Out of frame.
Yep. And he looks from the chalkboard and he looks over his shoulder and he sees the little girl. Except she's got like darkened eyes. She's kind of faded and gray looking.
Her fingernails are growing right before her eyes into claws. Yeah, it's more like her. I don't know. It's not just her fingernails. It's like her
she grows
fingers.
Claws,
yeah.
But she does that like typical, you know, hands up, hiss, fingernails and fingers grow, and then she like starts to like lunge at Jake, who's of course completely taken aback by this little girl who's now
monster.
A monster.
Cue Sam, who has grabbed a fire poker and swooshed it at the little girl, and it turns into the demon smoke and flies away.
Now here's a question for you: can you hit a demon with a iron rod and they smoke away? Because I thought they were like corporeal.
It was ghosts. Right.
Yeah. It's like I was surprised by that. I was like, is she a demon? Is she a ghost?
I don't know.
Oh.
It may be explained when he says about like 5 minutes later that this particular demon was an Akiri?
Yeah, I wrote Akiri. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a demon who disguises itself as a little girl.
So if it disguises itself as a little girl, then it's not in the body of a little girl. So now I get it. It has not possessed a little girl.
Yes.
This is what the demon is. Okay.
Right.
Because it's funny because he like, you know, Sam, you know, wishes the demon, and then he turns to the group of special children. He's like, oh, by the way, that was a demon.
Yeah.
You know, do you believe me now? Type of thing.
Yeah.
That was a demon. So did you look up Akiri?
I didn't look up anything. Because that was in Olympics land.
Okay. So Supernatural says it's a demon that disguises itself as a little girl. In India, it's the ghost of a little girl who's been murdered or abused and left to die. She would come down and bring sickness to anybody who was susceptible to sickness, and the only way to ward off the sickening or being, you know, touched by this demon was to wear a red ribbon around your neck.
Oh.
So that's what I learned about in Akiri. So yes, you know, so
little girl, yes, everything else, not really.
Not really. I love that Andy, after all of this, is still a little shell-shocked, and he's like, you know what? Still processing the whole demons are real thing.
Yes.
You know, everybody else is like, what else? What do we do?
Yes.
Where should we go from here?
I think that's his stoner mind. He just needs a little bit of like.
A little bit more time.
Maybe he's like still sobering up, you know, he's just like, okay, hold on.
Still processing. But it's like, but we needed Andy for the comic relief in this, you know, and I appreciate Andy for that.
Yes.
It was, you know, it wasn't silly relief. It was like,
right. Yes. Right. I also love Andy.
But looking around, Sam recognizes a bell, bell that's in the town, like it's, you know, almost like a church bell, not church bell, a school bell type of thing.
Yeah, it's just kind of in the middle of the town.
And he's like, I recognize that.
Yeah, we are in Cold Oak, South Dakota, a town so haunted that all the residents left.
Yep.
Which I didn't actually look up to see if it was real.
I didn't do that either because I didn't bother. I didn't bother. It didn't seem like it was. All right, pause.
I'm gonna do it just real quick. Wikipedia, which is not the supernatural Wikipedia, just regular Wikipedia. This is an incomplete list of ghost towns in South Dakota. Oh man, there's a lot of them. Good Lord.
Is it on there?
There's Cold Springs. No, that Cold Oaks is not. Yes, it is in Custer County. Abandoned. this mining town once had a school and cemetery, and that's all that it says about it.
Oh,
close. Well, maybe they just
very, very close. It has a school, so that's even with this revelation and of the demon, everybody still isn't quite on board. Angry Lily is still pretty angry.
Yes. She just wants to bail.
Yep. She does admit, though, that, one of the reasons she's so angry is that not only does she kill people, she accidentally killed her girlfriend.
Right.
Which kind of takes everybody back. Like,
right.
Okay, that explains.
Yeah, that's a pretty traumatic experience. I would be
right,
angry.
You get the angry there. You get the angry. And Sam, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Sam does his best to Sam his way into Lily staying.
Yes. If he had a chair by her bedside, he would have pulled it up and said, I still think it's best that we all, I still think it's best we stick together on this. And she's like, well, okay. But at the first chance where everyone's got their backs turned, she takes off.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got him on a mission to look for salt and iron, new weapons of the New World. I think he said something like that.
Yeah, right.
And food, because they're starving.
Yes.
They're all on the mission, and yes, she's just like, I'm just gonna back up.
I'm just gonna bye. So the next thing we see is in the meantime, Sam, Bobby, and Dean have pulled up on the roadhouse, and the roadhouse has been burned to the ground. Yeah, there is not even the sign is. Yeah,
it's left. Like the R and the O of the sign is maybe left.
Yeah, it was torched. It was burnt to the ground.
I could have sworn this was later. Like I thought that the roadhouse was in existence for much longer before it got burned down.
So I was actually shocked when I saw this.
I kind of was. I was like, oh, it's now?
That happens now? Yes, exactly. And I'm kind of sad. I mean, sad that the roadhouse was burned to the ground. But I mean, I'll talk more in a second. I'm going to come back to that. So not only is the roadhouse burned to the ground, but now Bobby and Dean are having to like sift through it because they're looking for Ellen, they're looking for Ash, and they're, do they see Ellen? No, but Dean does find Ash. Yeah. And he knows him because of his watch.
Yes, the watch that we all saw in the close-up
is now on a burnt corpse. And this was a gruesome scene, by the way. This wasn't just like a burnt building.
Right, there are corpses around, or at least limbs. Yeah. You see like blackened limbs kind of laying around everywhere.
Some with like a little bit of, skin still skin colored, and pretty gruesome.
Okay. So, who was not sad to see the roadhouse go? Eric Kripke.
Really?
This was a revelation to me during when this scene came up. He was like, here is my pride and joy, burning down the roadhouse. And I was like, what? He hated the roadhouse. He was like, it was a good idea in theory, but it just took the reality away from, as much reality as the show could be. He's like, here's this fantasy land where all the hunters have a clubhouse and they're always shining their guns in the background. He was just like, I could not wait to get rid of this, burn this mother down. And I was like, oh.
See, a part of me, I was really, really sad to see the roadhouse go. I was sad that, and crushed, honestly, that Ash died this way, that he died like this. But at the same time, I saw that as a push or a shove to Sam and Dean. Get out there, and you have to do this on your own, because this was always we don't have the answer, let's call the roadhouse. We need help finding the demon, let's get Ash to do it. So this was that push to make them more independent and self-reliant on themselves. I just didn't like the way it came about.
I know.
I'd forgotten that Ash died here, and so when I saw the watch, when Bobby first says no Ellen, no Ash, I was like, Okay, that's right. Because we see them like, no, we don't see Ash again.
No, I remembered like when they do the close up on the watch after he gets off the phone, like when he hangs up and then looks at his watch. Then I was like, oh, I remember what this leads to, and I did not realize it was so quick.
I had forgotten.
Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't like it. I was pretty bummed out. But at the same time, like I said, as far as the Roadhouse goes, I can see where Kripke was going with that statement. But at the same time, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I know. I mean, to be fair, he didn't say he was happy to see Ash like burned to the ground.
just the
Roadhouse. The idea of the Roadhouse. Yes. He was like, done over it. Which was like, oh, I actually really. I enjoyed the Roadhouse.
I liked because it was like a little home base, you know, even though they weren't always there. They
weren't there that much either. And now it makes sense why they weren't there that much. And it also makes sense why it doesn't really come back in the way that a lot of other things in this universe come back.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah, it was a shock. It was a shock. It was a well-played shock. I mean, I have to say, the writers did a great job because I wasn't expecting it, and it literally was a jolt. A jolt. And this is like, okay, now what? That was like their little whoopee, their little, little safety net, and it's like, oh, it's gone. Mm-hmm. So now we go from the shock of finding Ash in ashes, a little bit of irony there, to Lily on her own in the woods trying to find her way out of this ghost town. And there is something clearly either following her or surrounding her. Yeah. Branches are moving. It's not the wind. It's clearly something is there stalking her, and she knows it there.
Yeah. So while she's walking through the woods, Sam's like rummaging through, I don't know, a chest or something, just looking for any kind of weapon.
Anything.
Comes across a knife, and in the meantime, Ava like starts having like a massive headache. You know, she's like rubbing her temples.
Yeah.
And you know, he's worried. He's like, whoa, vision, and she's like, no, just think I'm just really hungry because who knows when the last time I ate was. Yep.
In bursts Andy. Mm-hmm. Look what I found.
Very proud of himself.
2 giant bags of salt.
Yes.
So, and of course, when we see this, I was like, yay, salt. Just go ahead and put that little circle in right now.
Yep.
But where's Lily?
Right.
They just now all realized that Lily's not there. They rush outside to look for Lily, and they find her, but she's hanging by her neck, dead by a windmill, by this giant metal windmill. So whatever was stalking her in the woods grabbed her and strung her up very high, by the way.
Yeah.
That was at least, 3-4 stories.
Right. Yeah.
Tall.
Very high and very in view, and very much like back in the day, they would use that, like they would hang pirates up.
Pirates. Yeah, like this is what happens to pirates.
I'm picturing like Pirates of the Caribbean movie. There's the first scene
which is exactly what it says. It's like, this is what we do to pirates. So it's supposed to be
pirates,
a deterrent.
Ye be warned, right?
Yes, exactly.
Here it is, psychics, ye be warned if you try to leave.
Be warned if you try to leave. So the demon clearly won't let them leave.
Now like Jake is fully on board because I think Andy starts freaking out. He's just like, oh God, we gotta bail. And Jake is like, actually, no, Sam is right. This thing will not let. Yeah, we got to stick together and wait. Fight off the next attack if and when it comes.
My question was, in this moment, I was like, why would the demon kill her? Because I was like, he's worked for the last 23 years to like bring all his quote children, together in this moment. I was like, why would the demon kill her? And that was just a question I had. I was like, wow. Strict lesson to learn, that you try to leave, not leave. Kill you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so in the meantime, brainstorming, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to do it? Sam is like, God, give my right arm if I had
my brother here.
My brother and my phone. And Andy's like, oh, well, if you're trying to reach your brother, you don't actually need a phone. Maybe I can reach him. Maybe I can plant something in his head, since that's what I do now, is put images in people's heads.
Not tried it long distance before, but worth a shot.
Yeah, let's give it a try. So it seems like Andy's kind of sobered up a little bit. And so he's like, do you have anything of Dean's or anything that he touched recently? And I love this. Sam's like, well, I have this, like receipt, that he signed. And Andy's like, that's great. This will be, and he pulls it out and he reads that. And he's like, D. Hasselhoff? that once again, what was so cool in your childhood, not so cool as an adult. Because even for a second, Sam's like, yeah, David Hasselhoff. That's how Dean signs his name. You don't get it.
Yeah, never mind.
You don't get it. Now, I am so on board with that because I was all about Knight Rider as a kid. I was like, who didn't like make the pew sounds or like try to say turbo boost anytime you went over a bump in the car? You didn't do it, clearly from your face.
Yeah, I know nothing about Knight Rider. My exposure to David Hasselhoff is, oh my God, what's that show? The lifeguard show?
Is it Baywatch?
Yeah, Baywatch.
Oh.
And he's in a couple SpongeBob movies too. But.
Okay. If you were a kid in the Knight Rider days, you wanted to be Knight Rider. You wanted to have the car. You wanted to have, you wanted to, because the car had all the cool buttons. It didn't have like oil slick or anything like a James Bond car, but you could he could hit turbo boost and it would literally make the car jump over like traffic. So I get why Dean would love David Hasselhoff from Knight Rider and why at the time it was super cool to be D. Hasselhoff.
Sure.
But not so much as an adult. Okay, sorry.
Sarah and Eric were very proud of that moment of like slipping in a Hasselhoff reference there. And I also forgot to mention, as we were talking about Lily dying and like up in the, hanging down from the windmill, that they both were like, man, I wish that this would have been bloodier. Like they share like this crazy love of like blood and gore. Yes, it's like the gorier the better. And Sarah even said, I put this in quotes because I thought it was so apropos for like where this show ends up going. The longer I write for the show, the more I just want everything to be bloodier.
Which could explain the
so she does splatter. Get her wish.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I forgot to mention that when they did show Lily hanging, I was like, yay, we have a gay character. And then I was like, oh, she's dead.
Yeah.
Kind of the red shirt character, but I was like, yay.
But you know what? Everyone dies in this episode. Or like in this two-parter, everyone dies. Yeah, Ash died. Everyone dies. Right, now Lily died. Right. And
I even wrote that at the end of my notes. I was like, everyone dies in this episode. Yep. But yeah, I just was like, yay. Oh. Little pride call out and then oh. Yeah. But that's okay. I'm glad they wrote it that way. It was nice. It was a nice little addition, They didn't have to have a gay character, so it was even if she was killed by.
But she's not alone in being killed. As is, correct. Most of the guest stars. They even say in the commentary, it's like, most people are really excited to get like a recurring character on a TV show, right. Except when it comes to Supernatural, because, you
how am I going to die?
Yes. Eventually it will get there to that point. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, back to the episode.
Back at the roadhouse, Dean suddenly grabs his head in pain and groaning and whoa, what was that? Mm-hmm. What was that? And then it happens again. Mm-hmm. He's like, oh my gosh. And now when he's grabbing his head, he sees flashes. Yeah. He sees images of that same bell. That same bell that's in the town.
And Bobby even says, oh, are you having a vision? He just asks it. And then Dean is like, nuh-uh, I'm not one of those psychic kids. I'm not a psychic. He almost says, he does say freak. Does he say freak?
No, he doesn't say freak. He just says, I'm not a psychic.
Freak. You can feel he wants to say freak. Yeah. And I thought this when I first watched the episode, and then Eric and Sarah confirmed this for me, that he's still, as Dean, is still prejudiced against, these people, kids with psychic abilities.
Yep.
He's still prejudiced against, like, the psychic freaks, and he does not want to be considered in them, even though his own brother is one of them.
Is one. Yep. Interesting.
Yeah.
but he doesn't say it, so that's a good thing. But Bobby's like, what's going on? Headaches, visions, what's going on? And Dean says, I actually did see something this time.
Yeah.
I saw Sam, I saw a bell, and Bobby's like, what bell did you see? What was on the bell? Did it have this oak tree on it? Bobby's heard of, obviously, if this is a well-known haunted town,
right?
Bobby's heard about it.
Yes.
So Bobby's like, I know where they are.
Let's go.
I do love that Dean's parting line about after his vision ends. He's like, well, it was about as fun as being kicked in the jewels.
Right.
Like, now you know how Sam feels.
Exactly.
So Andy was able to put a vision in Dean's head.
It's also interesting how they just completely ignored how Dean was getting this vision. Like, he even says, like, I have no idea how, but yeah, I do think this was a vision. And they just kind of gloss over it.
They're like, let's go. Right? Yeah. Well, they don't have time to discuss.
That's true. It's true.
There's
only 42 minutes in an episode.
Right.
Meanwhile, back in the ghost town, Sam and Jake are...
what are they banging on?
It's like an old iron wheel. It's like a wagon wheel or something.
Wagon wheel. And it looks like Sam's just like clang, clang, like banging on it. I was like, what are you doing? And Jake, in the meantime, is able to like snap a whole like wagon wheel spoke off with his bare hands to the eyebrow raise of Sam, who's like, did you just pull that off with your hands? And I love this scene because like Jake and Sam kind of have a bonding moment over,
it's really nice,
over the weirdness of what their lives are. Right. And they accepting of their, Jake is accepting that he has, quote, superpower, super strength. He's like, look, I'm not the Hulk. I just can do this thing. And, and Sam's like, yeah, I know, I get it. And so they have this nice moment, which I enjoyed.
And it's really nice because like Jake is complimenting Sam's leadership skills. He being in the army and everything, he's like, right, you're doing exactly the right thing, which is trying to keep everybody calm, even if you yourself are not calm. The only thing that matters. See that. Yeah, I can see it. And even though Sam admits, like, I have no idea if we're going to make this out alive. And Jake is like, only thing that matters is that they think that we will. All right. Okay.
All right.
He's got the approval of an army guy,
Yeah, exactly. They made eye contact. They, So later that night, we see Sam and Ava, who I'm assuming they've been assigned to, salt the doorways and stuff. And so Sam and Ava are talking. Ava still hasn't truly calmed down, I don't think. And at this point,
I have my feelings about Ava, but
yeah, I know. But I was just like, it's at this point, everything that she does, I'm like, it's too much. It's just too much. But she also throws out there that she really misses her fiance.
Yeah, that she just wants to like curl up in bed and watch bad TV. With whatever his name Brady. Was. I think it was Brady.
And Dean's like, Sam's like, ooh, hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, basically.
Yeah.
When we went looking for you and the demon had taken you, your fiance didn't make it. He didn't go into any gory details, which was great because he was a, like eviscerated bloody mess.
Yeah, no kidding.
Which makes me question who did it. I mean, I questioned that in the episode when it happened. Did the demon do it? Did Ava do it? Did what actually happened? Was she possessed and did it?
Right.
But Sam didn't lean that way. He didn't lean into it at all. He was just like, oh, hey, sorry.
Yeah.
Your fiance didn't make it.
And she is distraught.
She cries on Sam's shoulder, big. He wraps her up in a big Sam hug. I noticed though, no tears. There was I'm going to say, and you can say I'm wrong, but it seemed to be a deliberate look because she went in for the hug on Sam, pulled back a little bit, no tears on her face, no eyes, and then back into the reassuring hug from Sam. And I was already frustrated with Ava anyway, so maybe I was just like,
maybe. And the thing is like there are definitely tears later, you know? So, I don't know. Now they're all in a room together, in this salted up, safe room, I guess. Yeah. Jake is, being the soldier. He's standing watch.
Guarding the door,
Andy's passed out on the table. Ava's just kind of staring into space, and Sam is nodding off. And one of his little, he jerks himself awake a few times. He sees someone standing behind Jake. It's old Yellow Eyes.
It's Yellow Eyes. He's like, Jake, look out! And Jake doesn't respond at all. And Yellow Eyes steps in further into the room, into the light, basically out of the shadows into the light.
Right. And Sam realizes that he's dreaming.
I must be dreaming.
Yeah.
And I want to say they did this thing with Yellow Eyes, at least in these next couple of shots, where like his eyes were like super yellow. Mm-hmm. But they did this bad effect where they had lights focused on his eyes to obviously bring out how yellow his eyes were. And I was like, that is just bad spotlighting technique. Because as he moved, you could see the lights move. They were like trying to keep following his face as he moved. I was like, no, follow spots.
I have a theory about that, which may not hold up, but because it could be bad follow spots, but also generally actors are supposed to find their light, not be a, what is it? Michael says this, you're either a bat or a moth. At least when it comes to stage actors, if you're a bat, you're always like hiding away from the light. If you're a moth, you're like,
you find your light. Yep.
But he can't see in those contacts. He's like basically blind because they're hard contacts, so it's like he can't really see, which amazing job that Frederick did, the actor's name.
Blind acting.
And he's walking around, he's looking at Sam, and he's got nothing to react to when he is acting. And wow, I'm so impressed by his acting here in blind contacts.
So that's why I say bad follow spotting. That it wasn't him. It's not the performer's job to find his light in this moment. If he's blind, it's up to the light operator to keep him in the light.
Yeah.
And if they're going to go with that effect, I think that it just, for me, again, because of my position, I'm used to seeing the inner workings of like follow spots and technicians, work. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it worked for the everyday lay person watching, but for me, I was like, no, no, because
it was a touch cheesy, but
yes, I'll just
whatever.
Cheesy. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. Cheesy.
Moving on sort of from Yellow Eyes, but staying on Yellow Eyes. This was almost a different actor. It was almost a different guy because they're still, at this point, following very strictly in the rules of like the demons jump from body to body to body to body to body, right?
Oh.
And since he was just a janitor in wherever his first appearance was as him, because first Yellow Eyes shows up in Dad, and then the second time is
the janitor in the hospital.
But they liked him so much because he brought like that Jack Nicholson kind of twist or feel to it. They're like, all right, you know what? We're just gonna say that Yellow Eyes just kind of is riding around in the janitor.
This guy. Okay. Well, it made perfect sense because as soon as he walked in, you knew it was him.
Exactly.
Not just because of the yellow eyes, but because we were used to his face already.
Yeah. And it struck me because I was like, oh, wow, this is only the second time that he's been this guy. Yeah. It feels so natural for him to be that guy.
Plus, that actor had brought a certain quality of the demon. So to change the actor means you're going to change the quality, because otherwise, man, maybe it would have been too much of a change too soon. That's weird that they thought about changing him.
Yeah, and they had to like convince themselves like, no, he's just going to stick with this one guy for whatever reason. It's interesting that they thought that they were playing so hard by those rules.
Their own rules, yeah.
Because, spoiler alert, those rules just like get thrown out the window very quickly.
Oh my God. Well, that's why I kind of tripped myself up by saying, it would have been too hard to track that demon through a new character when down the line demons do jump bodies. So
they do, but they also, then it's just like, oh, okay, so this demon is that person all the time. Except on special occasions, you know?
Right. What meat suit are they wearing today? Yeah.
Right.
So the demon's like, let's take this outside. So they're outside of the building, the salted building. And Sam is just kind of owning it. He's just like, you know what? Kill me now. You know, whatever you have in mind, let's just end this now. Yeah. If I'm what you want, kill me. And the demon's like, not so fast.
Yeah.
And he basically like spills the beans about everything. And
it's like all of the questions and the secrets that have been kept in the dark for the past 2 years. It's all laid out in this next sequence.
Yeah. You know, the demon's like, hey, I don't want you to die because I'm rooting for you.
Yeah.
What? What? I'm rooting for you. Rooting for me in what, for one thing? And he's like, this is a competition. So this whole building an army thing for you guys to lead this army, the demon's like, no, I already have an army. But I am looking for a leader. I need one I just need one of you guys.
Yeah. I need the strongest. I need the best. I need the brightest of the bunch. And the way that he did this was to hold this kind of Hunger Games-esque competition.
Right?
Hunger Games I don't think existed at this time.
No,
2006 or 7, but
ahead of their time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's like, why do you think all these other special kids like washed out? And he lists the names of the other special kids that have died either by his hand or by their own hand.
Right. Like before they even got to this ghost town, because there was Max, the guy who shot himself, like way back. Is that season 1?
Yeah, I think it was season 1.
Yeah. And then Andy's brother, way earlier in season 2.
Yeah.
There's the guy
who was the guy who got killed in the parking lot outside the psychiatrist's office?
Oh yeah, that guy.
He was killed by
Gordon.
Gordon, yeah. So all these other kids have failed the test basically.
They're the weak links.
And he says Sam, and then he goes Sammy. You're my favorite.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. It's like he called him Sammy.
But then he also reveals, the demon, that he killed Jess. He admits to killing Jess, and he's like, she got in the way. She was going to lead you down this path to be a lazy, or just this regular person,
guy,
regular lawyer guy.
Yeah,
so I had to kill her.
She needed to get out of the way. However, your mother, she was just in the wrong place, wrong time. Didn't really want to kill her, but I had to. Bad luck.
Bad luck.
So this is like, at this point, Sam is like, wait, what?
What?
Like, this is like information overload, right?
Yeah. And the demon's like, all right, I'll play it back for you. And like snaps his finger and brings them both back to basically the pilot episode.
Yeah.
With Sam as a baby in the crib. The demon's actually looking over him in the crib, and Mary thinks that that's John.
Yes, which is just a flashback. As much as Sam tries to yell and warn his mom, it's just like it's like a dream within a dream.
But then you see the demon like slice his wrist with his fingernail or something and drip his own blood into baby Sam's mouth.
I know.
Oh, and it's disgusting, but the baby's so cute.
He's so cute, but he's also like, what's going on?
Why are you doing this to me? This is, And then Mary comes back the way we know she does.
Yes. Sam is also disgusted that he's like, wait, does this mean that I have demon blood in me right now?
Right.
Yes. Then Mom comes rushing back in after having realized that John is actually sleeping downstairs. Comes in, Yellow Eyes, past Yellow Eyes, turns around. She sees him and she recognizes him.
Yeah. She says, it's you.
Yeah.
And Sam was like, wait,
what?
She knew you? And then it goes into then it resumes back with Mary being slammed against the wall and then dragged up
sliding up the wall and up the ceiling. And then that's when Yellow Eyes kind of is like, okay, you know what? I think
we don't have to relive this part again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom, back to present time.
Like present time, because Jake has now, he's back in the safe house room, and Jake is waking him up because Ava has gone missing.
Right.
So they both go outside. Sam doesn't really mention this crazy dream or vision or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Yeah.
They just go looking for Ava.
Sam and Jake split up, watches them walk off screen, and then out pops Ava from behind a barn or something.
Yeah, the building, and then just comes back into the house, the room that they were just in, where Andy is still. And as she walks into the room, she goes over to the windowsill and drags her finger through the salt line.
Yeah, breaks the salt line. Andy's like, dude, what are you doing? And she doesn't really answer him verbally. She just puts her hands up to her temples.
Does the headache thing. Yep.
And then as she does that, some demon smoke flies in through the window, through the break in the salt line. And that Akiri again materializes in the room.
And does its like thing.
Yeah. And attacks poor Andy.
Attacks Andy and just guts him. I mean, guts him alive. He's screaming, he's bloody. And then you see the supernatural splatter of blood against the window, which usually signifies death. that the person has come to a supernatural splattered death. And I just was like, no, I actually was like expletives. And I was already angry at Ava anyway. And I was like, you bitch.
And then Ava does, now here's where I did actually like her acting.
Because she screamed?
Well, she does this like little face thing, where she looks very calm and is just like, I did it. And then turns immediately into her frantic, annoying Ava scream. Earlier, Robert Singer was actually kind of talking about her acting, how much that he really liked her, and I was like, oh, I so disagree. But then I think it's Eric said that she's better evil, and I was like, yes, that's what it is, because I actually did like her very much in this next sequence to follow.
Yes. So before we get to that, in the outtake is her scream. Because she does this big, like you said, she turns the switch and then she inhales and she just does this, scared girl scream. In the outtake, she screamed so long and so loud that she ends up like at the end of the scream, like coughing. So she's like, she's like waiting for them to say like cut, but she's like, at the end of this. Anyway, it was just funny that she was screaming and then she started coughing. And then looks at the camera like, is that good? Do I have to do it again? So that's the only outtake. It was just kind of a silly little moment.
Well, at least it was better than that scream from that movie episode.
Cut.
So Sam hears the scream because he's like basically right outside, rushes in, sees Andy, poor Andy, dead on the floor. And he's like, oh my God, what's happening? And then Ava goes, it's okay, I just went to get water. I found him like this. I don't know.
Yeah. And then Sam's like, he notices the break in the salt line. He's like, what happened? Oh, Andy must have. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
Andy wouldn't have done that. Oh, well, maybe it was. And Sam's like putting it together now.
Yes,
he's like,
very quickly.
When I left, the salt line wasn't broken. And now you're here and it's broken and he's dead. And he keeps questioning her. And
yes, because he's like, you had that headache when Lily was killed by that demon. You're the only one that can't seem to remember all of this time.
Months. Yep. And she's like, no, and then she stops. The game is over.
Yep.
Changes her face. She wipes her fake tears away. And she's like, she doesn't want to play the game anymore. She's like, all right, you figured it out.
Yeah.
And she explains herself, she's like, I can't believe that you haven't done this yourself. Like once I started looking into my dreams and my powers, I was like, this is great. It just clicked, and it was, this is amazing. Why haven't you done this?
I can pretty much do everything.
Yeah. I've been here for months doing this. And
she's the undefeated heavyweight
champion. Yep. So in this competition, she explains that like every little while, like more quote kids show up, special people show up, and she's been killing them all, and she's been winning. She's been winning every single time. She's like you said, heavyweight champion, and she pities Sam for not, being better at his abilities. And she starts to then put her hands to her head, like in the headache thing, and she's summoning a demon to come.
Well, too bad, sucks to be you, because now I can summon demons and you can't. So where does that leave you?
Yeah, wah, wah. So she starts summoning a demon. You see the smoke start to arrive and come through the salt, the break in the salt line. And then Jake shows up.
Just snaps her neck.
Boop. Done.
Dead.
Woof. Yep. and I think Sam in that moment is like grateful, relieved, but still really, really bummed out that it was Ava who killed Lily. And not only that, but just Ava's evil. And I was like, yeah, well, and that kind of bummed me out too, because of the way that season, that episode ended with him so distraught at her missing.
Right.
For her to now be to be evil. I was like, oh, come on.
But at the same time, if you were there for 5 months and like having to keep doing this, I'm sure it kind of was like a Hunger Games-ish type of thing where everyone's just at each other's throats.
Yeah.
Because surely the yellow-eyed demon came to everybody
and said, "You're my favorite."
It said, "You're my favorite," or like, "This is what's going on. You got to be the best." I don't know. Would I do the same thing in that situation? Maybe. Like if there wasn't really no way out. If I was just given like, "Sorry, if you leave, I'm going to kill you." So you gotta kill the others and be the best.
I don't know. I think, but she relished it. That was the thing.
I think that's what. Yeah, because she was, it wasn't like it started to be pretty easy, and then it was fun, and then
and I think that's what I think. Was a turn.
I do not think that she killed her fiance.
No,
it's a possibility. No, I don't, because it seems like she turned into this. And that she wasn't.
Once she was on the grounds.
Yeah. Once the demon took her. That's my opinion. That's my thought. Maybe she was possessed and did it. That's a good theory. Like if he actually possessed her, and then in her body, like then she slashed him up or whatever. But
it also seems more likely, given the carnage at the cafe.
Right. Yeah.
It was
just about to say
the yellow-eyed demon who did it.
Yeah, that's just what he does.
Fiance. Yeah. But it doesn't matter because Jake snapped her neck. So.
Yeah. Okay. Problem solved. All right. Dean and Bobby have arrived at least to the general area, but they cannot get further with the car.
Like a tree in the road or something.
Yeah. So they just take an arsenal of weapons out the trunk and off they go on foot. Sam and Jake are leaving their safe house. And Sam is like, all right, great. We got the two of us together. We can like fight this off. And now Jake is hesitant for that, and he starts to say, no, I saw this demon in my dreams. He says it's just going to be one of us. I think if we both leave, we're both going to die, but just let me go and I can kill him.
Right. Right. The soldier thing to do, which is
right. He's the strongest. He's demon. Literally the strongest.
Literally the strongest. Let me kill the demon and then we both live. As opposed to both trying to leave and then we both die because the demon will kill us both.
Right. Sam, knowing the things that Sam does, he's just like, no. You got to trust me on this. But of course, why would Jake trust him? He barely knows him. This demon is now like plotting everybody against him. He just saw like one of his fellow hostages kill somebody else.
Right.
How does he know Sam wants to do the same thing? A very valid concern.
Right. So Sam takes the knife that he found out of his, office purse and shows Jake the knife. He's like, you know what? In a show of good faith, he puts the knife down in the mud and he's like, and then hands up like, see, you can trust me. I've put my weapon down. And then Jake takes that piece of iron metal that he snapped off from the wagon, holds it up and puts it down in the mud also as a show of good faith in the mud next to the knife.
Yeah. Poor naive Sam. He's so trusting.
Because before Jake even puts his hands down back at his side, he swings an uppercut, right, and just knocks Sam through a fence.
And thus starts a pretty epic fight scene. A pretty epic one-sided fight scene. Being that Jake has got super strength. And Sam is,
Sam.
He's a good fighter, but...
Yep. He's good, but he doesn't have super strength. Because the next, like, 2 punches that Jake lands on Sam, like, you hear the bones snapping.
Yeah,
like he punches him in the shoulder, and you hear this. I mean, it was bad. I mean,
yeah,
Sam just gets a brutal beating, and he's Sam's on the ground at one point, and is able to kind of rally and get a couple of good like kicks in against Jake, to at least knock Jake back a little bit, and Sam's able to get back on his feet.
He does, and he somehow manages to get the upper hand in this fight, mostly by being able to grab the iron bar that Jake had left behind and like gets a good swing at him, and that's kind of what brings him down eventually. But before then, it's like he kicks him, I think, in the gut or maybe in the jewels. I don't know, but he does like knock the breath out of Jake.
Yep.
Which at first I was like, really? But he does say earlier, Jake does, that he's not Superman or anything. He's just super strong. So he's not the Man of Steel. It's not, he's not indestructible.
He's just strong. And he's not super fast or anything like that. And in these moments, Sam is able to just get some well-placed kicks and punches in.
Yep. And he contemplates finishing the job because he grabs the iron bar and he's like thinking about it. He's like, I could just smash his face in and end it right here.
Yep.
And because he's Sam, he doesn't.
Yep.
The first mistake that he makes. Second mistake is walking away and turning his back on him.
As he starts to walk away, we see Dean and Bobby show up into the town. And they're like, it's like, Sam, Dean, But then you see Dean's face. And you see Dean say, Sam, look out, because he sees now behind him that Jake has gotten up.
Yep.
And not only has Jake gotten up, he picks up the knife that Sam left in the mud.
Mistake number 3.
Right? And lunges at Sam and stabs him in the back. And doesn't just stab him in the back, twists it. He twists the blade in his back and just like does him in. He's just like... he makes sure that he killed him.
Yeah.
And all the while, Dean has watched this.
Yeah. Helpless because he wasn't.
Helpless because he wasn't there because they had to walk.
Yeah.
And he wasn't close enough, and he wasn't able to shoot Jake or anything like that. He just watches Sam get stabbed.
Yeah. My thought was just like, oh yeah, that was definitely a kill strike. Being that Jake is a soldier, like he would know how to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, that didn't just like slip in between the ribs. That was like...
That was somewhere important,
Yes, important and twisted. And
yes, that was definitely, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Which was even more like painful in several different ways to watch than Sam just fall to his knees in the mud and to watch Dean come up to him in the mud and start saying things like, oh, it's not that bad, we'll get you patched up. All of these encouraging, like, pep talk words, but you just knew. You knew that it was...
And Dean knew, too. I mean, Sam's, like, collapsed in his arms, and, Dean's like, oh, we'll just check you out, and he's got his hand on his back, and he knows. So, the words are, he's saying encouraging things for Sam, like, it's okay, we'll get you patched up, it'll all be fine. But at the same time, it's like, I'm like, Dean is saying that for himself as well.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But Sam doesn't respond. Sam is just limp in his arms, and that Dean knows this. He knows that this is not okay.
Yeah.
And it's like in that moment, I wanted to believe, you know, I really wanted to believe in that moment. I'm like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's going to be okay. Dean yells out. He's like, Sam. And it's that same empty echo that he yelled outside the cafe when Sam was first missing. It's like Sam is gone again.
I know.
He's gone again.
The final shot is just Dean yelling Sam out in the dark and the rain.
Into the empty. Yep. And then blackout. I'm like, Jesus. And like you said earlier, so many people died in this episode. You know, Ava, Andy, Ash, and I wrote down Sam ? Because who survives that? Who survives that attack? Again, Jensen's acting, very compelling.
Yeah.
And in that scene, in that shot where Sam is collapsed in Dean's arms, it's kind of an above shot, so it's not a face to face. It's kind of from above, so you see the weight of Sam's body on Jensen, you know, on Dean. In that moment, I was thinking about when you told me that in the previous episode, the Jensen and Jared didn't like playing that they didn't know each other, that they didn't like each other, they didn't get along as brothers. Can you imagine what they must have been feeling in this moment?
Right.
He found his brother, you know, his brother was taken by a demon, but he tracked down his brother and he found him only to walk in time to see his brother killed and die in his arms.
Yeah. No, and Jensen did say not in this commentary, on something else that I read. He did say that was really, really hard. Especially like after everything building up from these past 2 years, like culminating to this point and having to do that scene. He did say it's really tough, but he was really proud of it.
Oh, good. I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful scene without it wasn't overdone, you know? It was shocking. It was it hurt your heart. And then it was done. It was like, boop, blackout. You're like, oh, this obviously you say this can't be the end and this couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And without having, you know, again, I haven't seen the next episode. I've seen it. I know what happens. Obviously I've seen the next 13 seasons. But in this moment, the raw emotion is like, you know, so well done. Another really well done episode. To say goodbye to so many characters in one episode, I was like, wow. Jeez.
This writing team, this creative team is so sadistic with their... Because Sarah in this commentary was like ecstatic that she got to kill Sam Winchester. And she likes Sam. Like throughout this thing, you know, the way that she would talk about Sam, she's like, no, I love him. But man, when I say that I like went from office to office bragging that I just killed Sam Winchester. It's just like so funny. It's so funny, like watching this episode that you're so like, oh my God, what's happening? Not Sam. And then in this commentary, they're like, haha, we just killed Sam and everybody else and we burned the roadhouse down. And, you know, it's just like this joy of destruction, you know?
Right? It's crazy. It's what I find for me is, you know, like I said, I've seen all of this and we've all seen all of this, but it's been so long since I've seen it, and watching it in order deliberately is opening like a whole new, like, oh my God, like you said, this happens now. Yeah. You know, and we can talk about, Sam's killed in this episode, ... spoiler alert. But it's still shocking and it's still like, oh, now I remember, you know. That's right. This is how this goes. And so it's bringing back memories, but it's also solidifying, you know, ideas of what happened, of how the seasons work.
Right. I also remember when I first watched this, like going through this, like it was almost like I stepped back in time a bit and remembered how I felt watching this, not knowing what was going to happen, you know, my first run through. And I remember being like, no way. No, they didn't just kill him. No, impossible.
Well, I mean, when Dad died the way he died, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's true.
How he dies?
Yeah.
Not only does he die, but that's how he dies.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I have a very different image in my head of what happens to John Winchester.
Oh.
Anyway, so obviously there's a part 2 to this episode. I can't wait to watch it. I remember vaguely what happens, which is why I want to watch it, because I needed to be validated. I need to like be like, yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. Or what the F, which is how I kind of felt during this episode. When Ash, I totally forgot. Like I said, I totally forgot how Ash died.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, oh gosh, you know. And Andy, I even forgot about Andy, how Andy dies. So when he dies,
I forgot about
episode,
Andy.
I was bummed out.
Yeah, I did watch the second episode.
Oh, you did?
I did, because I was folding laundry and it was just going. So I was like, all right, I'll just let it go.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about next time.
Next time.
We're going to finish out this 2-parter.
Yes, and Hell Breaks Loose Part 2.
Yep. Finish up season 2. Holy crap.
Holy crap, we did it. We rock. Well, we rock after we watch the next one.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for tuning into this first part. Please join us again next week for the second part. Please be sure to follow, rate, or subscribe to us anywhere that you can do so on any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, Google, the other ones, Amazon. You can also follow us and interact with us on social media. We are at Salt and Burn This Pod on Instagram and Facebook, and at Salt and Burn This on Twitter.
Thank you, everybody who gives us little likes or sends us a little message. Even like the little heart responses to our videos are nice. So thank you for everybody who does that.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.